Greetings there people of YouTube, this is Essence of Thought here doing a quick video response to a rather idiotic and hypocritical video. It goes by the name The Bullying Scam and it resides on a channel called Real Catholic TV. Well, why don't we watch some? Let me just state, to shorten this video length, I had sped up both the video and the audio by 50% extra. It's still understandable, but no more annoying than the slowed down version. Hey, at least in this it's got a comedy factor. Let's begin.
Become a premium member on RealCatholicTV.com today. Not only will you learn about the one true faith, just think of all the new friends you'll make. When the saints go marching
Hello everyone and welcome to The Vortex, where lies and falsehoods are trapped and exposed. I'm Michael Vorse. If you haven't noticed, the way to advance your cause, regardless of what it is to play the victim, even if you're not actually a victim, even if you have to disregard other legitimate victims in the process of making yourself be the biggest victim, and even if you have to victimize others to promote your own victimhood. Yeah, a lot of victim stuff going on. And you can be sure that if you have a pitch to make about being a victim that happily corresponds to the liberal, modernist, secularist, atheist, progressive movement inside and outside the church, especially in the media, then you can rest assured that you will be canonized for your victimhood. Case in point, the pure hypocrisy and double standard of the school bullying initiatives that are being hailed as the most important social movement since abolition. Everywhere on playgrounds across the nation, according to the homosexual lobby, gay children are being bullied and driven to suicide.
Whoa, Michael Vorse, let me just stop you there. According to the homosexual lobby? Only a couple minutes in and I'm already horrified at your levels of ignorance. Many studies within the US have shown that gays are far more likely to commit suicide, ranging from anywhere between 2 times up to 6 times. This has also been backed up by qualitative studies to show that these suicides are far more likely to take place in unsupportive conservative backgrounds. So you insinuating that this is just according to the gay lobby is disrespectful, not only to anyone of the LGBT group who is watching your video, but also to those who have died as a result of being pushed aside and stigmatized by your religion. One study done on 32,000 grade 11 students in Origin found that 21.5% of the gay teens surveyed reported suicidal tendencies, while only 4.2% of straight teens did the same. That's not just a small majority, that's an overwhelming majority.
First of all, does an immature teen, or even preteen for that matter, really have a grasp of what his or her sexual identity is when it's that confused? So children, many of them fatherless, who don't have the slightest idea about their own sexuality or sexual identification, are being encouraged by radical, militant homosexual groups to stand up and declare loud and proud, something that many times may not even be the case.
This is going to be a very long video. People are able to identify their sexuality at many different stages in their lives, and it changes person to person. I mean, children not as thick as you may insinuate. Sigmund Freud in his psychosexual development scale talks about gender identification at the phallic stage, which he states occurs in the age range of 3 to 6 years. This is the stage when children want to be like mummy or daddy. Now, I may not agree with Sigmund Freud on his age range. I do believe in most cases 10 up can be the time when a person has a higher chance of finding out about themselves. I do, however, find it highly ironic that you follow this "they don't know," which Sigmund Freud's phallic stage says otherwise, with one of his theories on homosexuality about the absent father and the overbearing mother. That is a Freudian theory, you tart. Fact is, even if it's not the case, it shouldn't matter. People shouldn't be targeted for what they say they are, whether they are really it, or if they are currently uncertain. By silencing all of them, like you seem to want, you destroy all self-esteem held by those who have identified themselves fully.
But even if it is the case, it still does not excuse the victimization of these young people, victimization of these young people by the homosexual movement, to use them, these children, as propaganda in their culture war. These young people need the solace of strong, capable men, and guidance that they are not condemned to the destructive lifestyle of homosexuality. But instead, they get no guidance and get propped up as excuses for why men having sex with men and women with women should be viewed as perfectly normal, and all those who disagree are just hate-filled monsters. So they are more than happy to trot out this canard of caring under the guise of anti-bullying laws.
I have no idea what is up with you and you Catholics, telling us non-Catholics that we have no right to point out the victims of what you are in this case partially responsible for. It is a technique that you guys have been dissing out since the priest sex scandals in the mid-1980s, and you continue to use this today. We are not using these people. Many of the survivors or the parents of children who have committed suicide come forward to us. Unlike the world in which you may like to live in, we will not stand aside and let this happen. Your religion, along with others doing the same thing, must be held accountable for your actions. If that's wrong, well, I guess I'll just take it up with your God if I ever see him. As for a culture war, I had only heard this term used by one other before, yet I now see the definition is universal. Culture war refers to any criticism brought upon you and the church. It is designed to make us seem militant and different, to get people to hate us. Guess what? That's not going to make us stop. Don't like to be criticised? Cease existence immediately. Most individuals within the LGBT community are far superior to conservative Christians in many forms. Perserec, spelt capital P-E-R-S-E-R-E-C, a military study done in 1988 through to 1989, stated, according to the findings, gay service members fared better than their heterosexual counterparts in most areas of adjustment, including social behaviour and cognitive ability. Surprisingly, the military didn't release this study or use it when it came up to don't ask, don't tell. So we have strong support. It's a direct lie to believe in ancient theories and state otherwise. As for your next attack, that the homosexual lifestyle is destructive, you can go right off of that one. It's not homosexuality that's destructive, it's homophobia. We don't get to use these suicides to show how it's okay. We use statistics and replicable science for that. All credible, reliable and valid studies have shown that homosexuality is natural, not a mental illness, and that as gay rights go up, LGBTs are just as committed to one another and capable of rearing children as heterosexual couples. These suicides are a reason to fight bullying and misinformation, such as the stuff that you are spreading in your videos. If you don't get that, well, it just goes to show your character. Also, I like you to remember this, they get no guidance or help, as it plays an important role in what he says next.
If they're so concerned about children being bullied, where are all the efforts to throw all those playground bullies into jail who call other kids fatty or zitface? What about the abuse heaped on the stoner crowd? And all those dumb jocks, they sure get laughed at and mocked behind their backs quite frequently. Of course, the non-gay yet still socially inept nerds and social misfits whose mommies dress them funny, they get a lot of bullying as well. Where are all the laws and stampedes up and down the halls of Congress for them? Heck, at least a so-called gay kid can go online these days and get loads of help and encouragement in secretly lusting after the quarterback from a bunch of older men who did the same when they were kids. But pity the poor zit-faced nerd who no one sits with in the lunchroom, including that cool gay kid crowd and all the wannabe popular girls who hang around them. They wouldn't be caught dead with that kid.
So gay kids get no support, yet get more support than other kids. Make up your mind, you fool. That was under a couple of minutes apart within your video. Also, I do push for all forms of bullying to be attacked. One form I have seen is against autistic children, and I have stood up against that in particular. I have also stood up against the racial bullying towards the high populations of Nepalese children within my schools and colleges. But I guess you just don't acknowledge the fact that the average gay is more accepting of everyone in general. There's a reason I'm looking to go into the social sector, as I like to help people. As for these supposed cool gay crowds, how come as a bisexual I have never seen these crowds? I hang around with two main groups. One is my multicultural and background group from my A-level department, and the other is my LGBT friends from all over college. We're not seen as cool. We have in the past had people act oddly around us, or had certain things yelled at us. This cool gay kid group is a myth. A gay group can seem to be awesome, one, by being accepting and open, but I'm sorry if you dislike that kind of inclusive attitude. But wait, there's more. You go on to state that by receiving support from someone, we're being encouraged by some sort of sexual deviant on the other end of the line. Well, at least we're talking to someone on the other end of the line, not just thin air like when you pray.
And of course, if you go through some schools today, you will find that it's increasingly the case that kids who believe in our blessed Lord are experiencing some bullying themselves. But in their case, it's not so much from the other kids as much as it is from teachers, principals, and school boards. They're being told to switch out their Jesus t-shirts or be sent home, to put away those rosaries, cover up those Bibles, tuck those crosses down inside their shirts, which of course stands to reason since they've been told by judges and congressmen for years now that they can't pray at graduations or football games, mention God or religion in the classroom, or do anything else that even hints at the acknowledgement of a supreme being, of course, unless of course it's Allah.
It stands to reason that you would only assume lying once more. Christian children are not receiving any sort of bullying by the following of everyone's rights in the US Constitution on the separation of church and state. It surprises me how many Americans don't know what the Constitution says. On the case of jewelry, many schools are halting all forms of jewelry, as it creates several issues such as creating conflicts, loss, and even thievery. As for the Bible, how would you like it if I brought a copy of Harry Potter into your child's lesson and started teaching it as fact? No one learns in your churches, so don't pray in our schools. Seems a pretty fair compromise. As for the mention of Allah, again, an outright lie. I know for a fact that many of your conservative Christian teachers in the States show xenophobia towards Muslims, so that wouldn't be tolerated either. This time for personal prejudice as opposed to fulfilling the Constitution. In the next segment, we reach an all-time high for hypocrisy. First, remember this.
The way to advance your cause, regardless of what it is to play the victim, even if you're not actually a victim. And if you think that's an exaggeration, all you need to do is listen to the hate-filled, and this time the term is applied correctly, for once, hate-filled screed leveled by self-described gay boy anti-bullying champion Dan Savage, who stood in front of a crowded auditorium of high school students and absolutely let into Christian kids, calling them, quote, and excuse the expression here, but he said it, calling them pansy asses. And he wasn't just getting warm, and he was just getting warmed up. Close to 100 kids were literally bullied out of the auditorium by Mr. Anti-Bullying himself in the most overt example of bullying you could imagine in a school setting. Picture it. An adult speaker at a high school conference begins a tirade against helpless students who can do absolutely nothing to defend themselves and are heckled by him as they leave in quiet protest. Savage is an expert on bullying, all right. Only in the topsy-turvy world of so-called gay rights and homosexuality could a self-described opponent of bullying stand up and bully a bunch of Christian kids and this be seen as right. I wonder if it ever occurred to Savage, who bears an appropriate name by the way, if any of the kids he was heckling and insulting were actually homosexual themselves, but just agree with God that the orientation is wrong and have made the commitment to live pure and chaste lives. Now let's imagine that clubs like that started forming on various school campuses around the country, and let's imagine further that those kids started getting bullied. Do you really think the militant homosexuals who come to the defense of kids who try to live chastely according to their religious beliefs would happen? Not a chance. Heck, as far as we know, Savage already attacked some of them, at least in theory. No, this bullying garbage isn't about caring for kids, some of whom only, many perhaps, who only think they are gay. It's about using them as political tools to advance a perversity and to force by weight of law all of us to succumb and submit. The campaign is part of a much larger campaign of militant gay terrorism, militant gay terrorism, militant gay terrorism, militant gay terrorism, militant gay terrorism. They portray children as victims who deserve much greater protection from bullying than other kids, kids who exist in much greater numbers and undergo much more intense bullying. They use isolated cases here and there, which again are far, far fewer in number than the other countless episodes of bullying that goes on in school lunchrooms, bus rides, playgrounds, all over the school, in the locker rooms, in the gyms, every day of the year, multiple times a day. And they use these isolated cases to push for laws that will be another brick in the wall of the monument they are constructing to force everyone to accept homosexual sex as normal. The gay kids, or at least those who think they are gay, really are victims, but not of who you think. God love you. I'm Michael Vorse.
The moment we reach a point where a person calls another group terrorist for fighting for their rights really is the moment that we have won. It's almost a post-9/11 style version of the dreaded Godwin's Law for you. Well done. Dan Savage was not targeting Christians as you portray. He merely stated how you are highly hypocritical for trying to control other people with a book you yourself do not in fact follow. All the points made were only stuff written down in your Bible, so the only person to blame is whoever wrote the thing. You can cry and kick out that he was targeting the Christians there who left in silent protest, but there was no protest. It was not a compulsive attendance, so therefore they could leave any time. They were not being held there, they were not even brought there against their will. They chose to go, and when faced with a simple fact, they fled the scene. You yourself, in that very video, used the term perversity and militant without any backing, unlike Dan Savage, yet you dare think that you have the right to challenge a person who only acknowledged parts of your Bible? As far as the clubs that you mentioned, well, we fight for all LGBT rights. So if they were being bullied for being gay, they still fall under gay. A very easy point to deal with. Well, this has been a pretty open and closed case. Thank you for watching. Please rate and comment. This is Essence of Thought. Out.